कहत कबीरा सुनो भाई साधो कहत कबीरा सुनो भाई साधो कंचन निपजत खान रे. Kabir Das is saying that the real gold of life is not gold, but it's knowledge, is the right perspective. And that is why Navratri is such an important time. Happy Navratri. I always wondered that why are these 9 nights, Navratri, celebrated across India? Have you wondered that also? And even though the celebrations vary in the way we do it, for example, in Gujarat there are Dandiya nights, there are big pandals in Calcutta, or here in South we have small dolls. You know, we decorate those dolls and we celebrate Navratri. But मैंने हमेशा सोचा है कि यार why do we celebrate these 9 nights? And through this journey of doing back-to-back Navratri series podcast that I'm presenting in front of you, and today is the first day, I learned so much. Just a glimpse of that learning would be that I learned that these 9 nights, these Navratris and these Nav Durgas, or the 9 forms of Durga, right? The 9 forms of the goddess are actually 9 strengths within you. The first is Shailaputri, the ability to take up a goal and focus on it and work towards it. Drid Sankalp, that means commitment. You know that internal state that you must have reached at some point in your life also, so where you felt that, okay, I have to take up a goal and I have to take up a commitment, I have to work towards it. That strength that came up in you, that is Shailaputri. Or that is a part of Shailaputri, the Shailaputri energy. And there's Brahmacharini. Unlike also, of course, one of the interpretations is being chaste and being a brahmachari, but another interpretation, another meaning here is being free of distractions and working towards your goal. So first form, we celebrate that form of that energy where we are our ability to take up a goal in life, and the second we're getting out of all distractions.
Navaratri is like going back to our by taking deep rest. Ratri, 9 nights. Now, night is the time when you sleep, when the mind, your all the activities stop, and then you are withdrawn to the most relaxed state of your being.
So this is just a glimpse into the deep dive that you can take into Navratri, as you can go into meditation, dance, sing, and celebrate these 9 forms of Devi Shakti or energy, the 9 forms of energy within you. And I'm so happy to present this series. This is a series, the Navratri, celebrating Navratri series. And each day we would be talking about one form of the goddess. Today we have Sangeeta Ratna ma'am, who's an international advanced meditation teacher who's taken thousands of advanced meditation courses. And I would be honored to be with her on the first podcast and talk about Shailaputri and Brahmacharini. Yeah, so let's take a deep dive. Happy to see you back here.
Same here.
There is no boundary to my happiness right now. Because every time I go for an advanced meditation course, or the one that I went for with you last, and that was the last advanced meditation course, it's been a couple of months, I have to go back again. Um, Towards the end of the course, there is this uh, happiness that is incredible. It's very tough to explain that happiness. Um, and the only other time I've felt that kind of silence in the heart and that kind of being in the present moment and happiness is when I went to this hill in Tamil Nadu called Brahma Hill, which is one of the only Brahma temples in India.
Mm.
And there is a cave there which is very popularly known. I mean, in that area it's popular as there was a rishi. I don't know if this is Rishi Brigu, or I'll correct that. I'll put that in the description. But there was a particular rishi who's believed to have sat there and meditated for a very long time, and that the access to that cave is not there by the temple authority. But me and my friends, just because we were at that time when I went, we were like naughty. So we climbed over and we went to that uh, cave. I don't encourage others to do this, but I felt that silence there in that cave. So, first of all, kudos to you because you have done so many advanced meditation programs, and I'm sure you must have lit 1,000 lamps, right? And in those couple of months that follow after an advanced meditation, people become light in society because they go back after meditation with so much clarity, so much enthusiasm. They are able to restructure their life. Some people get reformed, right? So, the topic today is Navratri and the different forms of goddess. But I actually, the reason I have a notebook and I'm writing down is there's clearly a lot happening here which we're not able to see. So, I to bridge to start this podcast on the right note. For a very long time, we believed that the Shivalinga is very tribal as a uh, deity. I mean, um, as something to worship because we always believe that it is genitals, right? I mean, a lot of people have that outlook. So when I started reading about it, I saw this one particular description of Shivalinga. I don't know if this is correct, but I read it online that the bottom of the Shivalinga is called Parashakti, and the top of the Shivalinga, the actual linga, is called Paramashiva. So my thought, I was so struck, I was so awestruck because that's so precise. Parashakti means eternal energy. And now we know through science that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. And Paramashiva means absolute consciousness. They could have shifted this also. They could have said eternal consciousness or absolute energy, but they said eternal energy and absolute consciousness, which according to me is a bit more precise. By so this is so th- from the outer outlook, this looks so tribal or not tribal. It looks very simple. It looks like something else. But when you go deep into it, it's totally something else. From this perspective, I want to start the conversation.
Beautiful.
That what is Navratri really? Is there a deeper meaning to this as well?
Actually, everything has a deeper meaning. And like you started with the Shiva and Shakti, it's the gross form that they are seeing, but it's the seed of creation, the origin of creation. And that's what the linga or the round shape, which has no beginning, no end, that kind of a ball, like no. So it is depicting that eternal energy. Now, coming to Navaratri, I would like to say it's uh, something is done on a gross level. You are doing just arti and you are adoring the form or something, but the subtle meaning of all these Vedic pujas is lies deep in our psyche, and I'll say in the spirit, where everything has originated. So the people who went deep into meditation and could experience the subtlest level of the creation, from there to present it to the world, they to express it to the world, they brought all these forms. And the marvel of this Vedic knowledge or the scriptures is this, that it fine tunes that subtlest to the grossest level. And like even if you see our body, the outer body is gross. What runs this body is the subtle mind, intellect, memory. What's the difference between you and me? The way you think, the way you feel, your strengths, your weaknesses. That is what is giving direction to your life. And same thing with me. So where's the difference? Is it in the hands and eyes and nose and all that? That is what the most primitive people think like. But what runs the life is subtle. And even to the subtle, like, know how this mind came to existence. The origin of mind, the origin of intellect, the origin of all the thoughts, that goes even deeper in the subtlest level of Shiva Tattva. Now, as you have asked for the Navaratri, like no, it is the 9 nights which are dedicated to finding that subtle truth and subtle layer of yours. In our day to day lives, we are all engrossed in the activities of the world. And this can eternally consume all your time and all your energy in life. But when you sit and when you contemplate at a time when you are relaxed, you do go to the subtle aspects of your life. Whenever you have, like, no, when you started this business, you must have conceptualized some dream, some aspiration, which originated from within, not from outside, but something which created a tinkle inside, and then from there it started. So this is the subtle layer, that is still the mind layer. And Navaratri is, as you said, so like, no, can we go back to our own source and origin? And in our life, sometimes we feel we have certain strengths, certain weaknesses, whatever you're facing in the gross life, like no, like even for your business. Sometimes you need resources, right? You might be needing money, the investor. Sometimes you need the skills for, say, even this, like no, oratory or for photography and all those things. So these are the skills. So that also is required in life. And where do you develop that? It is not at the physical level, but at the fine intellectual level. And if we don't have, can we create one? So this is the whole purpose of Navaratri and the worship. Now, what happens is, it's like, I don't have my phone here. Like no, this Navaratri is like going back to our by taking deep rest. Ratri, 9 nights. Now, night is the time when you sleep, when the mind, your all the activities stop, and then you are withdrawn to the most relaxed state of your being. Like when you put your laptop on the sleep mode, or when you switch off the or delete everything on your the screen of your phone, and that is the time you can again download the apps of your choice. So Navaratri is taking a deep rest into your own being, and from there, when you have gone to that ultimate peace and bliss, and when you are so aware even about the patterns of your mind and tendencies of the mind and your own strengths and your weaknesses. One is you pray and you ask for it. Another one is unnecessary things which you have downloaded and that has complicated your life. You can delete them again, like no, reformat it. So this is the whole purpose of Navaratri, to going within and going so deep that you can maybe correct and at least delete the unwanted impressions. And the way we do it for the phone, for laptop, it is possible for our own consciousness.
Um, when we say Shakti, right, do we mean the sum total energy, or do we mean a special form of energy? Because there are people, there are talks about this energy being a different form of energy, spiritual energy, which is not material in nature, which is what we call Shakti. And then there are talks about this energy being the sum total energy of this universe. Which, what do we mean by
Yeah.
Shakti?
So I would say that it is the sum total of energy. So there are two aspects of this energy. Everything behind me, behind you, behind this air, this light, this wall. If you break them into cells and then the atomic particles, subatomic particles, beyond that, it is all energy, right? The science understands this, and higher science and physics can understand this. Same way, our yogis in their meditative state, they could know the secret of how we came to existence. And all that energy, I will not only say energy, also the intelligence. This energy has intelligence, which it has life force, it has prana. So if you see who had put that kind of intelligence in that plant, that you blossom like this with this color of flower, and the other plant which is in that small seed, whole programming is there. So that energy, as well as the power and the whole code, whole of intelligence of how it is going to shape up the life, is stored. Now, same thing is happening to the in the gross way, when we had the power suppliers and that all these things, that has now come down to semiconductors. Now, even smaller pieces, more of the electron power can be stored. And when the human mind and intelligence is getting more and more subtle, it is actually, the whole research is on its way, like, no, where they can find all the bioenergy, and they can find energy derived right from the biological sources. So they are coming close to what we are talking about. So there's energy behind everything in this creation. And why I would say it is not the quiet energy, that is the difference between Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is the one which has all the potentials, but it is sleeping. Just like you have gone to sleep, you have all the talents to say run the business or talk or do whatever. But when you are asleep, what is happening to you? What is happening to the mind? You are not active, but you still have all the potential. So when this is all quiet and all thing, this energy is called Shiva, Shiva Tattva. And once it is alive and it is in action, that everything and everything, that is all energy and Shakti. Now, why it is called Shakti also? And this is changing in Shiva. And it's just like the ocean. Ocean is on a big way, or the sky, if you see, it looks like it is empty. But there's lots of so many waves crossing through this. Even what I am talking is going to you or to him through the air, right? To the same space. So, this space which looks so silent and empty is actually not empty. It is full of so
Gluons.
many energies,
Yeah,
so
gluons.
many wavelengths. And that which fills that quiet state and what everything together, that quietness as well as the activity, all this together is Devi, is the Devi Shakti. It encompasses, it has also Shiva within. So everything in this creation, and there are states when it goes to sleep, and that's what happens in meditation or in sleep, when despite all your potentials, and that is how you rest. And that is what the Navaratri all about, going to that deep rest, and then you can see how what energy is emanating out of it. You have that awareness. If you want, you can change, you can retune yourself, your attitudes, your lookouts, your perspective. And that is what happens.
We all know Shabrimala and we all know Ayyappan. So in Ayyappan's story, he's asked that what is God? And Ayyappan says, God is Bodha, which is consciousness. Bodham, Bodha,
Okay.
awareness, consciousness, Bodha. So it so happened with me that I experienced that we can sleep awake. It happened that this would sound very illogical to somebody who's listening, but let me explain it properly in context. One day I was very tired. Couple of days I had not slept. And I experienced that when I was working through the day, I was pretty unaware compared to another day where I'm sharp and I'm aware. And I was generally in a sleepy mode where I was not very observant of everything that was happening around me. And I made a couple of mistakes which I did notice that I was doing, why I did those things that way and on a editing level with video. I went back in 2 days, it was a holiday, Saturday, Sunday, came back refreshed. And when I came back, I immediately felt a difference in my this thing. I felt my bodha or my awareness or my consciousness had gone up, and I was much more absorbent and also observant of everything around me. And I was sharp and I could see things. So I understood that this thing, sleep, is the deepest part of sleep. But there could be grades of like shades of gray. There could be grades of sleep during the day as well. Right now, you might be much more awake than I am. And maybe that is why this is called awakening, the path to enlightenment, awakening, because we become more and more awake as we keep going forward. So, uh, if we are saying that Shakti is, I've also heard this that Shiva, Shakti ke bina Shiv jad hai. I don't know if that is correct. So, that is what you meant by Shiva being the sleeping consciousness. So, couple of questions actually. One is that uh, in that case, are we saying that every atom or atom is even big? Smaller, as you said, gluons fill the space, which is free energy in the space. Every gluon of energy has consciousness attached to it. That means the property of energy is consciousness, and the property of consciousness is energy. Is that actually what you're saying
Yeah,
then?
it's energy, and especially when we are talking about consciousness, it is not a material energy. It is not just the current, but what the science finds, right? It is intelligent, it can feel as well. So it on its own, it is capable of reorienting, changing. And actually, the scientists have found only the material aspect of it, but there was a an experiment where the observer field was noticed when there's I'm just
Double slit
forgetting my
experiment. Double
uh,
split.
yeah,
Double slit.
where once there is an observer, that it changes the
The result
direction.
changes. There is when you're observing, it is a way. It acts like a.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think.
particle and otherwise the wave.
Yeah.
Right. So this, which they still have to go a little deeper, or maybe they might have gone. Like, no, I'm out of touch of the recent developments. But this is exactly their science is slowly and slowly coming close to the spiritual truth. So it makes a difference. The observer is making a difference. Now, what you are saying, awakened person is seeing, I'm not seeing, you're not seeing, right? What Guruji can see, and it's different. He can see and he can feel at a very different plane.
Yeah.
And this is also true that there's no sleep like that. For a Turiya Avastha or a person who's so meditative, like in a very natural way, once Guruji was saying that for him, like, no, the sleep and all these four states are muddled up. Like, no, it's nothing like. So there's no sharp, like, no difference that this is this. So it is quite possible that you are resting and at the same time you are aware.
And Turiya is there is
That is
the fourth state.
meditative, yeah. Restful awareness. On one hand, like when you look at Guruji, is so relaxed and he's doing so many things at the same time. Not only here, he's also, when we are praying to him from some other country, that also gets answered. So these are the things, like, no, it's a very different thing that only a realized one can understand, right? We let us not try to interpret what we cannot, like, no, we have to be an observer of that divinity we experience at the peak of any experience. Whatever comes is that wow, the mind stops and you, this wow feeling comes. So out of that, the nine big strengths of this consciousness, first I was talking about is the mm, Shailaputri. So a person who is sleeping and is just like in the routine of life, he doesn't get even notices his own strength, right? So the first thing that happens is that kind of conviction that Shaila is very stable, and at the same time such a strength of conviction. With that you rise up, and that is the beginning. It is said that it is starts in the Mooladhara. So that's the basis of life. Like, no, when it was like stone and inert, and just like in day to day life, and somebody rises up with that conviction to do something, that power, That strength, that perseverance is the first sign of the Shakti. And when you look at such people and you just say, wow, right? And I can do it, then on your own also you can say, wow, I can do it. So this is the beginning of that divine power. So also one is the strength, stability, perseverance is what Shailaputri depicts, like Himalaya's daughter. It is also depicting the which is born out of the peak experiences. And this is where the nine strengths of Durga, that the normal human being, where you see that wow, that feeling comes like no, so magnanimity, and the mind stops and present moment is strength, his power, his compassion, his fear, and even in anger. And all these are the things, if you see the peak of anger, like, no, it is not somebody who's habituated to anger, but for some reason, if it rises up, like, no, genuinely inside you, and you'll see such a flow of current, whole body grips you. And then immediately the mind becomes totally blank. And I do not know whether once or twice I've experienced, I could not believe that I have so much power. And you also will notice a person who's such anger, a very normal looking person, very thin looking, weak looking person, like no, he becomes so strong.
Hmm.
Suddenly. So that only at the peak you can experience this. I mean, we are not talking about like no, be angry or something, but you can notice it in such peak experiences. I just before I was coming somewhere, I thought like no, even fear that they talk about. I still have a childhood memory. My father was a civil surgeon, and we had an old British style house in somewhere close to Nepal. So the backside was all full of kind of jungle. And he was on the night duty, and I just went to the restroom. And what happened? Olden British, 100-year-old big mansion kind of a house. So the wooden door had a small slit. So like I was also my exams or something in the middle of that, I went and I just closed the door and then I turned around. And when I do that, I see a huge, long, like no, must be around 6 feet black snake, and it is from the slit on the side. There was a regard, so it was an old. The frame had a slit, so it started shaking like this. And when I turn around and I certainly, at that peak of that fear, I felt so cool. Mind became absolutely calm, like no, the extreme meditative state. And I allowed it to slide into this the slit that it was slipping, and then allowed it. Then slowly, gently, hardly 1.5 foot distance, and I opened the door. I walked out, and still the mind was so still. I don't forget that. I went and touched my mom's body and then said that, come, I'll show you something. Even then, I could not express what is that experience. The mind becoming so still, so clear, and so like no observant. So this is probably like no one of the things that when it becomes like totally quiet and surrendered state also, whatever you say. So these are that is why they must have talked about like no Kali, this, that. So these are the peak emotional or experiences of a human being, where at the peak of it you become calm and relaxed and like in a Shiva Tattva.
So these nine forms could be the nine peaks.
Are the nine, they depict the nine basic strengths in the consciousness, which is very appealing, which is very obvious, I'll say. The
Ma'am,
strength, compassion, beauty. If something is so profoundly beautiful, have you seen nature? Something just like wow, after reaching that peak, and you look at it and you just become so silent, right?
yeah,
Have you noticed that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, that peak of any of these things These are the 9 strengths which take you to divinity. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah. So I was with a friend, and this friend, out of anger, did something pretty bad to somebody she was with, she was dating. So what happened is this friend had a had guilt without boundaries, and she was crying. And this person had left her, and he was not with her anymore. So me, her, and another friend, all three of us, we were hanging out, and she was crying, and she was crying for many days, and we were trying to console her. So this other friend left, and I didn't know what to do because I also had to leave, and but she was still crying. So this a couple of years ago, I thought, and we were in the suburbs. So I thought, okay, let's try one thing. Let's, because I have always noticed that when you're in a very helpless state and you connect that to divinity, right? I have experienced, we cry out for help. There's a prayer. It actually always works in my case. So I took her to the first temple I could find. I thought, let's try this. So we were inside in the suburbs and we were on a bike and we were going inside. And there was this temple, very strange because this temple was completely uh, looked abandoned, but was not. Looked completely, yeah, yeah. Now, I go to this temple and I say, do one thing, just go inside and pray. To this day, she tells me, because of course we're good friends, that Bharat, I don't know what happened when I went into the temple. Because when she walked into the temple, I don't know what happened to her, but she fell on the ground and she started screaming. It's a very scary memory in my mind. She was screaming and crying, screaming and crying. She cried, and I've never seen any human being in my life cry like that. She felt really bad for that guy. And I think she was washed, whatever was washed out. But this interesting thing about this temple is I was standing outside and I was looking at this thing happening and I was like, what is happening? I was standing there. On the left side, I saw a statue and inside there was a deity. Now, the deity, it was Devi on a donkey with a broom. So for some time, I was like, I'm not used to that because I'm usually used to the Kali Swarup or this or skulls or tongue out. This was a Devi Swarup on a donkey with a broom. So I was very confused. I was like, are people making this up nowadays or is it real? So when I later Googled, it was called Kalaratri. It was that form of goddess which does justice to everybody. And this, I had goosebumps because we strangely ended up in that temple where she cried. And after that, she said that she felt so relieved after going home. She was fine.
Beautiful.
So,
So that is why Kali is compassionate.
mm,
So all these things, if you go very deeply, it is like no only when she out of compassion she takes this form, and finally they are. So most of us are living half-hearted, like no, not 100%. Not they keep little bit of anger throughout their lives, never like doing 100% and then out of your system. Or this she cried and cried 100% and threw it out. So that is what is happening for most of the people, just half-hearted living somewhere in between. So this is then when they are so stuck and so much in problem, then she appears and then with her blessings it goes. So it is that is also karuna, that is also compassion and
ma'am, on one side we say that 100%, but on the other side we say balance. So how does that work then?
compassion and balance. And I could not
No, in the
understand. It
sense,
doesn't mean that you yourself just if this experience is coming, you make it half. Not making it half.
so people,
Balance is about it is not about the emotions, not emotionally balancing it. It is the pull and the push that is happening in your like your likes and dislikes. In a balanced state, you are okay with both the sides. And then your rights and wrongs. And in that state, it doesn't mean that all the time you have to be in that. state. But a person, when you're feeling very stable, peaceful, that is the state that you are accepting things like, no, it's nothing right and wrong. Suppose I don't like this, and immediately my system will be like, no, it won't be all that com- complacent and quiet and balanced, right? So once rights and wrongs appear, like dislikes appear, past grips me or future creates so much of, then I'm losing my centeredness. Here in the present moment, I'm in balance. In you cannot be in present moment when you have likes and dislikes pulling you, or right? You understand? And rights and wrongs again are pulling you apart, or your past or your future is pulling you apart, or I am superior, I am inferior is pulling you apart. So, in that is the state of balance where the consciousness is agreeing with all the sides, and that is what we should come to the Brahmacharini aspect of
Yeah.
Devi. Devi, which this is the story that was given by, like, no, is Parvati only. Shailaputri was nothing but Parvati. Sati in her past life, you might be knowing the story. Mm, and she was married to Shiva. And Shiva, it is in the story, it is said that she was Daksha Prajapati's daughter. And what had happened is in his court was when Daksha entered, Shiva did not get up, while everyone else got up from the seat. So he took it in the very most gross form. This story is all about. So he took it as an insult. And once when he was doing this yagya, he did not invite his daughter who chose to marry Shiva. Sati, just like a young daughter, like, no, she insisted and wanted to go back to her dad's place when everyone is invited. So Shiva understood it. She said that you may repent this, but then she insisted and she went. And then she found that there was nobody was welcoming her and there was no seat for Shiva. And then she entered the pyre
Yeah.
and and this had given Shiva such a pain. So she again wants to come back to Shiva. So in the next verse, she becomes Shailaputri, Parvati. And then she does all the penance to get Shiva back.
So
So now the story is Brahmacharini. Shiva is that all pervading consciousness, which is benevolent, right? Peace, love, joy. In that stillness, even in sleep, because you do not know what you're feeling, but definitely you come out of sleep very refreshed and relaxed, right? But in meditation, you have experienced that state where you feel absolutely peaceful, unperturbed, and I will say fulfilled kind of feeling that pervades you. So now she wants to marry Shiva and she wants him back. For that, she has dropped all these Brahmacharini, one who is her mind dwells in the Brahman, in the infinite consciousness. So she is a tapaswini and she is like renunciate. That's what she just did the pina. She left her palace and she was doing that. So it what it means spiritually, you don't have to do all that. What it says, the mind which dwells on the bigness of the consciousness and is not moved by pettiness, my likes, my dislikes, my rights, my wrongs, my past, my future, what will happen. So, all this who can drop is the person who is staying in Brahmacharya. And that is very much required for us to feel that divine aspect, the Shiva aspect of our consciousness, which is all pervading, vast, peaceful, joyous. So, that is what is Brahmacharini.
and how do we do that, ma'am?
So it is in that picture they have shown the beats, and so these are the techniques that the masters gave through meditation, through chanting, to repeating, so that the mind gets out of those patterns. The mind getting out of its regular patterns of likes and dislikes, hates and pushes and pulls. That becomes quiet and peaceful. So you have to go for the finance, or I won't say finance. It's not a trouble all the time. But you have done Sudarshan Kriya, you have done hollow and empty. How easily you go there. So it's a gift also. But this is how it.
So are these nine forms also the journey towards Kundalini Shakti rising?
They are the actually the different powers of the. So Brahmacharini is in Swadhisthana Chakra. The first was Shailaputri is the awakening in the Mooladhara chakra. Now, why this lady? Don't get affected by the lady form. Why we call is that Devi and
Yeah,
all
I
this?
was about to ask that. Why
Uh,
the female form?
Yes. Because it is create this energy has created the vastness of creation. Everything was created from nothingness, right? And creation is it happens in the female's body, like no, for the most gross form, the babies are born out of a female body. So they have depicted it for. So they were very intelligent people, the seers who know in the so that even the simple-minded people, not so subtle, not so intelligent, can also understand this.
So in a way, it's also the mother. This energy is
It's the
actually the
mother.
mother of the.
It's the mother. It is one is it she creates, she nurtures. She nurtures, she educates the children. Like this is what will be coming for all these Shakti that she gives them knowledge and protects them through knowledge. The right knowledge protects you, right? Do this, don't drink this, do that. Like no, all that has been taught by mother. Oh, don't go near the railing, you'll fall. Like no. So she teaches and she educates, and it's the knowledge is the strength, it protects you. So all these nine forms of Durga is for the protection of our life in so that we live life most beautifully. It's a gift. I see that the life is a gift. For me, like Shiva or Shakti, both are. So I appreciate life. I will not like no moksha doesn't mean that this life is so juicy. Why should you leave it? But the only thing is, it doesn't become juicy when we do not have the right knowledge and the right strength to deal with it. But once you are empowered with the right wisdom and all those strengths that Navadurga gives you, you can relish life and you can feel freedom as well.
Ma'am, but naturally a question that comes is that since there is symbolism, there is story, and then there is also science. So, I mean, at some places we say tattva, like Shiva tattva. And then in some places there are stories like jumping into the fire. And then in some places there's deeper knowledge and symbolism. So, is this so? Is this Shakti actually like a person that you can talk to? Or is
But
this.
person also has Shakti. See, we this is what I was saying. This creation is so incredible. It is in the subtle form and it's so beautiful. It has also created me and it has also created you. And who am I? Like no, for outsiders, I am an embodiment of certain talents and attributes and certain weaknesses, right? For you also. So there are certain strengths in me, there are certain lacks in me. And that is getting depicted by my presence, my personality, what I do, what I talk, right? So this is a very nice game at the gross level. The human consciousness and the intelligence, as I told you, it needs refinement. Not everyone is at same attuned to the same refinement and is not seeing the same thing what you are seeing, what Guruji is seeing, what others see. It's like now fine microscopic eyes and feeling also such subtle level. Some people don't mind shouting, yelling whole life. They do that, drink and throw and other thing. They don't mind they're doing anything bad. And there's yet some people who once you insult them to that extent, a person who's very loving, and like it happens many of the times in Western countries also in one insult, they leave you and they go permanently. Because for them, this much of rebuking was too much for them. You understand? So, so we all have different levels of intelligence, different levels of sensitivity. but God is within everything. We are all made up of the same substance and same energy, and it is only the manifestation which has a varying degree. Somewhere it is same electron proton is making steel, and somewhere it is making a flower, right? So, but it both of them have the capacity, both of them have originated from the same original, like no energy. So the beauty of Hinduism. So what I told them, this there are two aspects. One is that you do not know God. You do not know. It's just the way that you do sense that there's some power which is running the life, because life is not under your control. So they do it, and it is allowed for them to see the form. And the form is very, very important. Not everyone can love the air and love everyone. Love your enemies is taught in the Christianity. But do you really love the enemy? So where is that sensitivity? Those are all words. So it depends. So the our seers, they knew how to take this man from this level and slowly, slowly make him transcend and refine in his sensitivity and sensibility. So it is okay to create a mud shape and just worship. What matters is that the moment you start, your heart and your spirit starts attuning to that invisible force, job is done. You are connecting to something very subtle inside you, and this will refine you both mentally, emotionally, physically, all forms. And there is an aspect, the milk has some energy, stone has some energy. We have seen all the yajnas where you do experience that kind of vibrations that you were talking about, that Devi temple or that thing.
Yeah.
What is it that like no exudes, makes your mind so calm? So there is a deeper science, and that science is not the stone or nothing. It is the energy transferred by such subtle um, evolved people. That is called prana pratishtha. When they do that, these masters, these people who are so subtle, they transfer their energy and then make that stone so vibrant. So there's a deep science, and you cannot reject it just looking at it. You have to experience.
So when we celebrate these forms, what happens to us? Like Shailaputri or Brahmacharini, when we celebrate this form, what happens to us?
Whenever you celebrate, what happens to you? Have you noticed?
Joy, happiness.
Yeah, and then have you noticed when you are very, very celebrative, it doesn't matter what this person told me yesterday or this day, and suddenly you are ready to hug anyone, right? This is what happens in Diwali or Holi or something. You just forget everything because celebration is very close to our soul. Bliss, joy, love, peace. These are the qualities of the soul. Anything nurtured properly, not in a wrong way of like no through the mm, through the drinks and something where the senses are getting like no blurred. No, in an awake state, if you can celebrate when your senses are working fine, then you start transcending all these barriers. A happy person is the one who goes and shakes hands with everyone. And when you are so sad and closed, you don't feel like meeting people. There's a bigger wall of ego.
So these forms are not just strengths, but reminders that we have these strengths.
No, they inculcate all these processes, inculcate that refinement in our own consciousness and takes it towards the source. Our source is of joy, of peace, of love. Yeah,
Right.
right? One
Yeah.
hour, right?
That's close to 1 hour, but there's so many questions exploding. I didn't know where
You
to stop.
have endless questions.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And I think
You should now just practice and you should know. You already have this refinement of intelligence as well as sensitivity, and explore more, like no, go within and explore.
sure.
At the same time, what you're doing is a wonderful thing. This I consider as seva, like no, it should also inspire others to explore.
Yeah.
So this we do simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
Talking has that purpose. So nice being with you, Bharat, and I wish you a happy Navaratri
Yeah.
and go for meditations. I'm taking the advanced course also.
Yeah. And
I
that will
welcome
be,
that.
yeah, ma'am. So do you want to give out the dates or should I put that in the description?
Yeah, I will be conducting this is an online 3 days advanced meditation program. It's starting from 4th of this month, 4th October to 6th October. And what we do is in Navaratri, to enliven our consciousness with that divine energy, first we go to the deep silence, and that is what is advanced meditation program does. And after that, we do indulge in those the homas and yagyas. Those are the chants and the music, and that creates those kinds of vibrations which no which creates your world. And it's good to have those qualities also. I think we all in the worldly plane need some skills, some beauty, money, strength. And as long as your consciousness is auspicious, like no, all this will be of good use to the society. You should not don't have to drop all that,
Yeah.
but knowing that it originates from that fulfilled state of our own consciousness.
Yeah.
I wish you luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Jai Gurudev.